Hello again. The previous March 31st video was a lot of action steps, wrapping up one thing, moving to the next, researching, revising, etc. We ended by looking at the question, what makes a good text, and filling out the text set graphic organizer more. This video will guide our thinking back to the reason behind including those texts in our unit. It will focus on the question, why do I need to include texts besides the typical textbook? I want to note that some of you don't have content areas that usually have a textbook. And in fact, I have never used a textbook or an anthology or a grammar book to guide my courses. I always looked to curate other materials. Even in a novel unit, we often had multiple genres and texts outside of that novel because I started with the essential questions and understandings of the unit first. Those guided my resource selection. I would often use an anthology for maybe one short story that would pair well with the novel. If my students needed help on a certain thing with their conventions, I would pull out a lesson from the grammar textbook. But I never went page by page. I never saw curriculum as guided by the textbook. I saw it as guided by the questions. And I want you to take on that thinking as well and see what comes out of it. I did that because I wanted students to have a much richer experience than just knowing how setting influenced character development. I wanted them to see how these texts showed that thinking in their lives. So this video will focus on a pair of assignments where you will read two excerpts that ask you to revisit the question and the reasoning behind including additional texts into a unit. As you will see in a minute, I will be asking you to read two excerpts from Zygoras Koh's Teaching Discipline-Specific Literacies in grades 6 through 12. The content of these excerpts will focus our thinking again on the reason behind incorporating additional texts into our units of study. For the first excerpt, I'm going to ask you to test out your current PDF annotation capabilities. You will turn in this document with some reflections. And for the second, I will be asking you to come with me through a guided tutorial where you add a new annotation tool, Cami, which is a Chrome extension. So let's go ahead and return to Blackboard and look at those assessments. So here we are back at Unit 3, Week 1. And you can see that assignment from the previous video where it asks you to fill out the first two columns in Part 2. And also color code your selections as to what knowledge or skills they develop, what understandings or questions they address. Similar to what we did with the unit design when we did the color coding matching to show the connections. So the next thing that we're going to do is look at this reading complex texts beyond the textbook part 1. So this is the assignment and you can take the PDF excerpt from there or you can just download it from here. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is download it onto your computer and use a typical annotation tool that you would for annotating PDFs. And one thing I want you to note is that when you digitally annotate, try to highlight, draw, and comment. Turn in those annotations. If you are unable to do that, maybe leave a little comment in the assignment itself to say, what are your capabilities? Based on the survey that I asked you to do last week, it seems like this is not something that many of you have done before. So let's just take a few minutes and try it out and see what we can do. I have a program called Adobe Acrobat Reader, which works with my Windows operating system on this computer. Maybe you have something similar on your laptop or desktop, or maybe you have something on your phone that you can annotate with, even though I personally find that kind of annoying to annotate on something so small. Or maybe if you have an iPad, you already have an app that works for that. Regardless, just see what you can do. So I noticed that I can add a sticky note if I want to. I can highlight. So I can also check, okay, if I highlight with this, does it allow me to ever change colors? That's kind of nice that I can just draw all around if I want to. So it seems like I have some options with this. Again, maybe you do as well, and take some time to read through this content and consider what it is that they're saying about reading complex texts and play around a little bit with your annotation tools. The purpose, of course, is to understand the content of this text, not just to mess around with the tools. So we can look and see what are some key ideas of what students need to be able to do when they read complex texts. So take some time and do that, and I'll look forward to your submissions. When you are ready, you can move on to the next part of the video where we will be looking at Kami. As you can see, I just Googled Chrome extension Kami. So this is the name, K-A-M-I, and this was recommended to me by another teacher who uses this for her Google Classroom. She works in Lincoln, and so she is at an all Chromebook school. And I also looked at a couple of other blogs and websites about recommended apps, and this is the one that I came back to, that this extension really worked well. So again, it was suggested before we even went fully digital with Concordia that you use Chrome as your browser. It really does have a lot of interesting extensions that work well with a lot of computers. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at Kami, and I'll talk a little bit more about why I think Kami works well in classrooms with digital annotations. So if we go to the good old Chrome Web Store, we see that I have already added it to my Chrome, and you can actually see the extension pop up over here. So you will have something that asks you to add it. One thing that you can notice is that it has very high stars and it has over 1 million users. And it works within Google Drive. And so this is really nice too, that you can save anything you do on Kami to Google Drive. And I find that really helpful. But before moving on, let's take a look at why would you want to use Kami in your classroom. One of the main reasons to use Kami is because it helps you as a teacher see what thinking the students are doing when they interact with digital texts. And since the majority of what we read is online, it's helping us teach students to use literacy tools in the reality that they currently exist. And for our own classes, one reason that I will be asking you to use Kami is because for this text set unit, I'm asking you to find resources and annotate them over the weekend. Some of these annotations will be in depth, and I don't really want you to print out all of these things, then annotate, then take pictures and upload a ton of pictures to Blackboard if we can just spend a few minutes to find a better way. Additionally, many of you will be working at a one-to-one school, and using something like Kami will allow you to see how students think. And then they don't have to print out the articles either. So they don't have to own a printer or use the money for the ink. And while I do believe in practicing deep reading with printed texts, because I do think it helps students focus better and think more clearly, we also have to face the reality of the lives in which our students live. And so Kami has a lot of options that really does allow for that deep thinking. And let's take the rest of our time in this video tutorial to check out those options. So once you have Kami, you can go ahead and click on this extension and it will take you to a new browser. And so the fact that this is all over the internet really works well too. So with the second article or the second excerpt that I asked you to read, go ahead and download that. So download that second excerpt, and then once you have downloaded it, click on Open from Computer. So this should go ahead and pop up. You can take it out of your downloads, you can take it out of here, and I'll just grab it from there. Yep, see, I've already tested this out. I want a new copy. So once you upload it, it is going to say that it's uploaded. And I always like to do this run ORC because it helps actually identify the text a little bit better. And it takes a little bit of time doing that. So while it does that, again, the process is go to Blackboard, download part 2, click on this Kami extension in your browser. So after you add the extension, click on it and then take the downloaded PDF and have it on here. Again, you can run the ORC. So one thing you will also see is that there are several things that are locked, and that's because we don't want to pay money, but that's fine. We can see how we can mark it up. Okay, we can do this highlighting if we want to, which is great. We can do some drawing. So if I wanted to, oops, I don't want white, that is counterproductive. Draw here and make a little star. I can do that. I can do different shapes because sometimes I like to box things in. And one thing that, in addition to all this, that I would like to see is commenting. So add in, you can click, and I can say, close reading. What is this about? And then I can do highlights that show what close reading means. So I can do my little markup. Close reading of a text is a form of guided instruction. Ooh, I might even underline that because I know guided instruction is one of those buzzwords that we have talked about and that we talk about in a lot of education courses. So after I have done my annotations, how do I then submit this to Blackboard? So this is a PDF. What I can do is simply download it again, save it, and upload it. Or I can save it onto Google Drive if I wanted to do that as well. So I could save to Cami. I can also download, or I can save it to Cami Uploads. And so Cami is going to ask to access your Google Drive. You can say no if you don't want to. There's no real problem to do it. All it does is it creates a folder in your Google Drive called Cami Uploads. I would just recommend downloading your annotations, and then after you download it, with annotations, all the pages, begin export, and then it does that, and then you can download it and then open up the submission box. See, it already has all my things, yay! Then you can open up the submission box in Blackboard and submit the assignment there. Okay, so here we are again. You just go ahead and select this. And then when you browse your computer, you can just go straight to your downloads and upload it from there, or you can save it in a folder on your computer and use that. There is one more thing that I would like to show you. If any of your texts will be taken from a web page or be an image, you can actually use one more extension to annotate websites or images. And this is really cool with your students as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a website and talk about one additional extension that you can use. So I went from the page where I added Cami, clicked on the Chrome Web Store, and then added in one-click full page screenshot. So you can see that, and it brought up this extension. You can see that I've already added it. I'm going to show you how it works when you go to a website and find a website that you'd like to annotate as well. So this is, for example, if you find an article on a website and instead of trying to copy and paste and like awkwardly download the article from that web page, you can actually take a screenshot of it and use that as one of your resources. I went to the website of an infographic that I found earlier. You can also do this for websites that have images or just articles on a website. And I have this one-click full page screenshot. So I'm going to take a screenshot of the full website. And you can see it's going from top to bottom, so it's doing the entire thing. And now it opens out on a new tab. And I can see that it contains all of the information. So say I wanted to assign this infographic to my students, I could just use this to have a PDF. Or if I wanted students to find things on their own when they found a good website, my students can just do this one-page screenshot and then download it as a PDF. Maybe next time. Sorry, friends. So it downloads as a PNG, which is a picture, And what I can do is change it to a PDF from there, upload it to Kami, and then write all over it. Let me know if you run into any problems. Otherwise, I'll look for your submissions and see you live.